The Carolina Panthers wrapped up the second day of mandatory minicamp. Only one remains. We've got all the storylines for you. Let's go.
Brace yourself for the ultimate Carolina Panthers experience. Welcome to Two Growls, One Roar, the podcast that hits harder than a Luke Kuechly tackle. We're diving deep into the heart of Panther Nation, bringing you unrivaled passion, insider takes, and pure gridiron fire. From Wilmington to the cosmos, this is your home for the fiercest football talk east or west of Charlotte.
Welcome in, folks, to another edition of the Two Growls, One Roar podcast. Hope you guys are doing well. Hit the subscribe button. Follow me wherever you get your podcast. It's much appreciated. Let's get down to it. So this is day 2 of mandatory minicamp. One more day remains tomorrow. That'll be it, folks. And then for the next 45 to 46, 47 days, whatever that magic number is, we will not have any notable football news outside of maybe a possible cut or maybe use social media sleuths that like to spend all your free time going in and analyzing everything that's happening in the offseason with these guys' personal lives. That's all for you, not for me. So y'all enjoy it. It's going to be relatively quiet, at least from what we hear from the team, until the players report to training camp. So without getting too far into this, let's start with the day 2 highlights. And folks, we have to give credit to the wonderful people that cover this team. I cannot name every one of them. I named them sometimes and then, I'll forget people, but media is fantastic. We have them there every day, unlike OTAs. And those are the folks that are keeping us up to date with everything that's happening. So day 2 of mandatory minicamp featured a strong offensive performance from Bryce Young. Who would have thunk it? Now, we are going to talk about something that happened, but we're not going to overreact to it. We'll get into that in just a minute. Xavier Legette and David Moore both scoring multiple touchdowns, as it was reported on X by the folks that were there. Defense did have some notable plays. There was an interception by Tre'von Moehrig, of course, against none other than Bryce Young. So I'm not going to overreact to that. Now, some notable news as we cycle through injuries, how people are doing. Tetairoa McMillan was an absence out of today. It was a precautionary measure. Sounds like yesterday he got kicked or something happened, and so they decided to give him rest. Adam Thielen, and yes, Jaycee Horn now with rest days. So both of those guys missed out in practice today, and I think that's okay. Although I'm sure, let's be honest, I'm sure Bryce Young would have liked Jaycee Horn out there so he could keep his trash talk alive and keep that cycle going. And folks, you know what? This is something that I was thinking about coming on here as we were doing this episode and was like, man, you know what? I don't think I spent enough time talking through the importance of Bryce Young trash talking with the defense and Jaycee Horn yesterday. And point being is, like, when we think about Bryce Young and who he was the first 2 years, maybe the first year and a half in the league, quiet, there were concerns about his leadership style. Could he figure this out? Could he be a leader? Could he be a number 1 NFL quarterback and, inside of an NFL locker room? That's not even talking through the size and all the things that people had to say about him that were negative. We are seeing an updated version. I'm still curious if this trash talking that we hear or is being heard is explicit or if it's PG. I still ask. I just gotta know. I just don't see Bryce Young dropping a bunch of F-bombs when he's running his camp, teaching about meditation and breathing and all those things. Like, I just don't see it aligning up. Sports psychology, and honestly, all those things are probably a big part of, and I know he mentioned it, him getting right. And helps when your dad's in that field and can help guide you and direct you and get you the right resources, and probably a piece of his resurgence that we saw over the course of the season. But with that said, it is important, in my opinion, that we are seeing this version of Bryce Young. Now, we aren't asking him to be something he's not, but he's feeling more comfortable. And I mean, to be honest, that should make you a little bit worried if you are here in the NFL, particularly the NFC South. I still have high expectations for this team. I do. And it's not just us, folks. There was the chalk talk that was last night, PSL owners in Charlotte. Of course, I live all the way in Wilmington, and I'm not a PSL owner, but thankfully, a lot of the guys that went, probably some gals in there too, but a lot of the guys that went, I saw them posting some of the predictions, analysis, and takeaways of their views on the season. Ejiro Evero said playoffs. A few other coaches, or another coach said NFC South. So the expectations are there within the building. And I mean, like it's one of those things where you don't sign up to be bad. You don't sign up to lose. And although outside you may have this perception that this team is not ready, or they can't get over the hump, or they're the team of Panthers past, like we're hearing a lot of folks talk about getting back to that 2015 version. And not just us, not just the fans, it is the players on the team. Adam Thielen specifically talked about this yesterday after practice, trying to get back to what that felt like. We've seen Robert Hunt retweet a post of the 2015, well, technically it was in 2016, but that NFC Championship game and the environment, and he wants to bring that back. These players want to get right. So I think all this is culminating into what could be a good season for the Carolina Panthers. And I know we're going to keep talking about it. We have to see the results. You can talk all you want during this time of year, but until we see it in action, until we see them stacking some wins, having a record above 500 in November, in December, that's when, things are going to get real. And we'll say, oh, yeah, this team did figure it out. Dave Canales has headed in the right direction. Bryce Young's got it. Ejiro Evero has significantly improved the defense that failed us last year. But all that to say, getting back on Bryce Young, I cannot emphasize it enough, the importance of Bryce Young being in this state. Because, I mean, we can talk about year one. We can talk about the first two games. That was not a great situation. And mentally, I'm sure he was not in a great space. We talked a lot about Xavier Legette and his offseason and his comfortability and just kind of figuring things out and smiling and working through everything. But as Bryce Young, a player that has never went through losing the way that he did or been in situations like this, just being able to work through it, and now finding his voice, being himself, and of course, continuing to play good football so far. So that's a very positive for Carolina Panthers fans. So again, wrapping up on day two, let's get into some other notable highlights for you. So Bryce Young led the offense with an impressive red zone drill competition, connected on several touchdowns. As we mentioned, defense did have some big plays, and we are going to get into the special teams battle. The way they have been doing this, and I don't know if it's the same this year, but they have, again, Fitzgerald kicked yesterday, Matthew Wright kicked today. We'll talk about his performance that came there. Offensively, again, Bryce threw for multiple touchdowns. We talked about the scores to Legette, David Moore also in the mix. And then not touchdowns, but notable completions to Jalen Coker and Kobe Hudson. So undrafted free agent Kobe Hudson, someone that we've talked about a little bit. Him and Jacoby George, those are some guys that are teetering on the back end of this roster. And you just sit there and think maybe there's a chance. Practice squad, we will see. The room's just a little too crowded. And for those, again, that are out here on the Hunter Renfrow train thinking he's not going to make it, it just seems like, barring something crazy, that this guy's going to be here. There's too much positive. He is in the slot, so you're going to have a rotation between him and Adam Thielen. Curious to see how that plays out, but there's too much good, and they are talking too highly of him. Now, that being said, you have to go back and put your lens and your cap on and think about, wait a second, I remember when this entire front office was talking highly of Jalen Walker, and that's because that was the player that was being asked about the most. So whatever questions you put in front of them, they're going to answer. So when you continue to ask about Hunter Renfrow and his progress and what you've seen, he's going to respond. So I don't know, but I still feel highly and think that he has a chance. So it's good. Like we said, Tre'von Moehrig intercepted Bryce Young early, but that seemed to lock him in. Speaking of Bryce Young, and things kind of took off. Also, at one point, Jacoby George, again, another undrafted free agent rookie, and Lathan Ransom. Sound like they had a bit of a competition there. And let's see what else we got cooking up for you guys. Yes, So I guess we should briefly talk about the kicking competition. So Matthew Wright was 3 of 5 today. Remember, Fitzgerald was perfect yesterday. So Matthew Wright, the veteran, the guy who has experience, 3 of 5. And again, assuming they're using the skinny goalpost still, he missed from 47 and 52. So, I mean, it's a legitimate competition. I think similar to last year. If I'm the Carolina Panthers, I likely, again, you get to carry your 90 until the final cut, but just on importance of need for this team in certain position groups, there's a chance that, you may decide to let one of these guys go early so you can bring an additional position that's not a special team or that's just holding the roster spot just to hold it. So I'm curious to see how that plays out if we get into preseason, if things kind of settle down and we see what's going to happen. Now, the other thing that's notable, and again, this just goes back to the coaches asking the questions, but they did ask about Jair yesterday. And I know I said, we kind of went through some of our notes and we've already created a video on that content about him possibly coming here, but they didn't shut it down. And I mean, it's all about competition getting better. Speaking of competition and getting better, as I sidetrack myself here, the other thing when we talk about that competition is Adam Thielen. Another notable thing that I really liked hearing from him yesterday was competition and not really knowing who's going to make the roster. That's what he said. You do not know. I think last year and the year before, it was pretty much a given. Like there was, maybe some position battles, but not many at all. Like nowhere close. So from now, Carolina Panthers have some position battles. They're going to linger over into training camp in the preseason, and so that's when we're really going to get to see this thing unfold. From what we heard, though, again, Tetairoa McMillan, as we talked about earlier, I guess it was an accidental collision from day one. Hopes to have him returning tomorrow, which is the final day of mandatory minicamp. We talked about the rest day for Adam Thielen and Jaycee Horn. Offensive highlights with Xavier Legette playing well, David Moore, Coker, Kobe Hudson, and I guess late in practice, there was a well-placed touchdown pass to Bryce Pierre in the red zone as reported by none other than Mike K. Mike K is one of the best to follow during these things, and Joe Person. Some chippiness early in practice with Jacoby George catching a pass, and Lathan Ransom was there to knock it loose and recover. There was an exchange between the offense and defense as reported by Mike K. Take that all day. We covered the kicking competition. Additional observations, which are short right now. Josh Norman, former quarterback, was present, according to Keep Blitzing podcast channel, X account. Chuba Hubbard's birthday. He was spending time signing autographs after practice and, celebrating his birthday, which is positive. I think he's only 26 years old, so young. One thing we did not talk about yesterday was the presence of Rico Dowdle, and I think it was Keep Blitzing. They were one of the folks that tweeted out how impressed they were with Rico Dowdle being in the mix now. I think, we do have one other news, so let's cover the last little bit. So notable news, Bobby Brown III received high praise from Coach Dave Canales. So he gained about 7 to 8 pounds of lean muscle, and he's been impressing folks during his initial workout. So positive momentum there as well. So we've got one more day of mandatory minicamp. Then we get to sit back and wait and just see what's going to happen here in Carolina. And we start our bold predictions. We start our season previews. Get to figure out what this team is going to be like. So anyways, folks, as always, appreciate you guys tuning in. This is Carolina Dad. Y'all have a good one.